morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today it's time to check in with Night Wanderer and see what the 10 most valuable cards from that set are. The set is out now over in Japan, so that means that we can go and have a look, check some Japanese sites, and figure out exactly what's going on with the cards and which ones really are the most expensive ones available. Sound like a plan? Excellent. Because there are some very nice cards here, but I've got to be perfectly honest with you. Value-wise, this is a set which is pretty cheap, honestly. One of the cheapest sets we've seen for a while in terms of secret rares, which I'm just going to go out on a limb and say I think is a good thing personally. I know some people like their cards to attract lots of value and they like speculating and all of that. I'm a fan of cheap cards personally, but maybe that's just me. So starting off then at number 10, we've got the Full Art Cassiopeia at 1,600 yen, so you're talking around about $10. This is actually not the top Full Art supporter in the set, which is surprising, but there's a playability one which is making a little bit of a difference. And look, Cassiopeia is penny, and spoiler alert I suppose, and it's not labelled penny, it's labelled Cassiopeia, but you know, come on. So it's kind of interesting to me. I kind of expected that with it being penny, that was going to make quite a big deal here. And that this was actually going to turn out to make penny a really expensive card. And it's turned out not to really, honestly. It's a really nice full art for $10. Now, the card as a whole, it's the one where you can only play it if it's the last card in your hand, and you get to search your deck for any two cards. It's a very cool card. I like it very much indeed. But the fact that the full art's only $10, that's kind of cool. In at number 10, we've got the Gold Pecharunt EX. Not the best version of Pecharunt. There is another one that we are going to be seeing coming a little further up this list. But it's still Gold Pecharunt, and this is, I've got to imagine, a playability thing going on here. You see, Pecharunt's got a couple of really nice things going on about it. Firstly, it's got a really nice ability whereby you can switch your bench darkness Pokemon with one of your active Pokemon, and then your new active Pokemon becomes poisoned, but that's not a big deal. We got stuff like Binding Mochi in the set that does an extra 40 damage if you're poisoned. And we'll mention Okidogi in a minute that is absolutely fine being poisoned as well. So that's kind of cool. And then we've got the attack that for 2 energy does 60 damage for each prize card your opponent's already taken. So, by the time your opponent's taken a few prizes, this becomes a very, very powerful attack. And all of a sudden, we've just got a really good Pokemon here. There is another version of this which is better, which is higher up the list. This one comes in at 1,700 yen, which is $11, rounding down to 11, incidentally. But it turns out people like Pecharunt, it's a playable card, and that's going to push the gold version up. In at number 8, we've got the full art of Janine. And this is at 1,800 yen, which also comes in at $11. But essentially, Janine is rounding up to 11 and Pecharunt's rounding down to 11. They're not exactly the same, but they are very, very close. Although I suppose we should call it Janine's Secret Technique. That is the actual name of the card. And this is the biggest full art in the set. And the reason essentially is because it's super playable. That's where we are. Janine's a ridiculously good card, lets you search your deck for 2 darkness energy and attach 1 each to 2 different darkness Pokemon. So 1 energy each to 2 different darkness Pokemon. If you attach to your active, they get poisoned, but again, as I explained a moment ago, being poisoned in this set if you're a darkness Pokemon really is not a bad thing. I mean, that's a lie. Sometimes it totally can be a bad thing, but the point is there are advantages to it. This is a very playable card, and Janine's fine, Gen 1 Gym Leader and all of that makes a difference, but really where we're going here is very playable card, there is no special illustration rare, so this therefore becomes the best version of it, and that's why we end up with a little bit of value, although again, this is the number 8 card in the set and we're only at $11 here. This is honestly kind of awesome. There's only 3 cards in the set that are worth more than a booster box, and for collectors, I think this is wonderful. For players, I think this is wonderful. For speculators, it's bad. I'm totally okay with this. In at number 7, we've got the full art of Pheasant Dipty, and this comes in at 2,200 yen, or around about $14. Now, one thing that's very important to note, this is the only one of the Loyal Free / Petulant where the full art gets up on this list. I really like Okie Dokie, we'll talk about that more in a moment. But in terms of the full arts, Pheasant Dipty's the only one that gets up there. I'm going to spoil the surprise ever so slightly here, although you really could have figured this out from what I've just said. In terms of these special illustration rares, although they're all on there, Pheasant Dipty is going to be the highest, which is pretty obvious. When you figure out it's the only full art on the list, you can kind of figure out that it's going to have the highest special illustration rare. This is the big version. And the deal very simply is, it's very, 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 very playable. Simple as that. It's got the same ability as Oricorio GX had back in the day. That is to say, you get to draw 3 cards if you had a Pokemon KO during your opponent's last turn. And yeah, very, very playable card. And people want the full art version of it because it's a very, very playable card. And it really is as simple as that. I don't think Pheasant Dipty is the most popular of the Loyal Free. Certainly, judging by the availability of plushies at North American Internationals, it's the least popular of them. But it's a super playable card, and that is going to push this up. In at number 6, we got the special illustration rare of Monkey Dory, coming in at 2,300 yen, or $15. Yes, this is the first of the special illustration rares we've seen. Yes, it is the lowest of the special illustration rares. And yes, that means it is perceived as the least playable among them. And I don't blame you, honestly. The ability is really nice because it says you only give up 1 prize if Petulant EX is in play. So if Petulant in play, it's basically a single prizer. But free energy, 190, and it can't use that attack next turn. It's fine. But it's not particularly good. And that's kind of the problem here. Sorry, Monkey Dory. Although the Monkey Dory plushes did sell out pretty fast at NAIC. Read into that what you will. In at number 5, we got the special illustration rare of Okie Dokie, coming in at 2,800 yen, or $18. The fact that these special illustration rares are pretty cheap makes me very happy. As I told you in a video, I think it was yesterday, I really want these. So the fact that they're going to be cheap for me to pick up is a good thing and makes me very, very happy. Now, I really like Okie Dokie. For free energy, you do 130, but if you're poisoned, you do 260, and we've already said there's ways to poison pretty easily. And then Binding Mochi puts you up to 300, and then there's ways to manipulate poison on your opponent. You can basically KO anything. And you got stuff like Janine to get the energy on there, and I don't know. I think this is a very nice card. I think it's going to be a good deck. But the early values are not necessarily backing me up. In at number 4, we got the special illustration rare of Petulant, which is coming in at 3,800 yen, or $24. I've already told you what Petulant does. We've already had a chat about that. This is higher than the gold version, because people like the special illustration rare more than the gold version. That's all the analysis I need to give you. Now, in at number 3, we've got the special illustration rare of Pheasant Dipty, coming in at 5,500 yen, or $35. This, incidentally, is the first one where we're just by 100 yen, but still jumping over the price of a booster box. You can buy a booster box, or for 100 yen more, you can have the special illustration rare of Pheasant Dipty. But it is, well, you've already seen, it is higher than Okie Dokie, and it's higher than Monkey Dory. People like this card. It's, as far as I'm concerned, and feel free to argue with me in the comment section, this is the most playable of them. By a mile. And it's not the most popular Pokemon, but it doesn't matter because it's super duper playable. And there's your answer. In at number 2, we got the special illustration rare of Cassiopeia, coming in at 6,800 yen, or $43, with an apology from me. Because I thought this was going to be the most expensive of them. I thought this was going to be the big one, and it turned out it wasn't. I really genuinely thought this was going to be the most expensive, and when I get to number 1, there's going to be a big, oh yeah, okay, I get that, that makes perfect sense, and it does, incidentally. I understand why, but Yeah, Cassiopeia is not number 1. Popular character. Love, love, love the artwork on this card. I think it's a stunning card. But it doesn't get up at number 1. And the reason is Gold Earthen Vessel. Earthen Vessel isn't a particularly exciting card. I don't think that's an unfair statement. Discard a card from your hand, search for 2 basic energy. It's not terribly exciting, but it is a staple in a lot of decks. This sees a huge amount of play. It is a phenomenal card, and there's no question about whether it is a phenomenal card or not. It is hands down, guaranteed, phenomenal card. We know this to be true. And a lot of players want the coolest version of cards to put in their deck. This is the only cool version of Earthen Vessel. And it really is as simple as that. It's not a particularly exciting card, but it's a very playable card. It's the coolest version of it, and that's your explanation. It's coming in at number 1, 7,300 yen, $46. Only a little bit above Cassiopeia, but still enough to make it relevant. So there we go. Those are the top 10 cards from Night Wanderer. We're expecting all of them to be in Shrouded Fable. Frankly, it would be weird if they weren't in Shrouded Fable, so look out for these ones pretty gosh darn soon. But for now, it's over to you guys. Tell me which of these cards you're excited about. Tell me which of these cards you want to be picking up. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Good us. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. And of course, get shoutouts on the channel, like the lovely Uber MX, who's been a supporter of ours for a while now and is a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing is always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.